Life has a way of finding its own beautiful rhythm. For years, my days were measured not by a clock on the wall, but by the steady, gentle hum of our home. The first light of morning would peek through the kitchen window, promising a day filled with small but meaningful moments. I'd pour a cup of coffee, the aroma filling the still air, and listen to the quiet house before it stirred to life. There was the packing of lunch boxes, the search for a missing sock, and the sweet chaos of getting everyone ready for their day. These were the moments that grounded me, the simple joys that stitched our family together. My world was a beautiful tapestry of school runs, grocery lists, and bedtime stories. I found so much purpose in creating a soft place for my family to land at the end of each day. Our home was a sanctuary, a place where muddy shoes were always welcome and laughter echoed in the hallways. I poured my heart into every corner, from the garden where we grew our own vegetables to the living room where we'd all pile onto the couch for movie nights. Each day felt like a gift, a collection of memories in the making. My hands were full, but so was my heart. Even in the busiest of seasons, there was a quiet corner of my heart that held a different kind of dream. It was a gentle whisper, a longing for something just for me. Sometimes, after the house had settled into its nighttime quiet, I would pull out an old, worn-out atlas from the bookshelf. My fingers would trace over maps of faraway places, places with names that sounded like music. It wasn't a desire to escape my life. I loved my life dearly. It was more about adding a new chapter, a new color to the story we were already writing together as a family. This quiet dream felt like a secret I was keeping, even from myself sometimes. It was tucked away between loads of laundry and trips to the market. But it was always there, a little flicker of inspiration, waiting for its moment. I learned that you can be deeply content with where you are while still feeling a pull towards something new. It's a beautiful paradox, this idea of being rooted and reaching at the same time. The daily rhythm of my life was the foundation, the steady ground from which this new dream could eventually begin to grow. Of all the places in that old atlas, one country always called to me the loudest: Switzerland. Just the name itself painted a picture in my mind of vast green meadows and towering snow-capped mountains. I imagined breathing in the crisp, clean air and hearing the gentle sound of cowbells in the distance. It was a dream that felt so vivid, so real, even though I had only ever seen it in pictures. This wasn't just a random destination. It was a feeling I was chasing, a sense of peace and wonder that I craved. It represented a kind of quiet strength and timeless beauty. The dream of Switzerland began in my childhood with a storybook my grandmother used to read to me. It was filled with illustrations of little wooden chalets adorned with bright red flowers and rolling hills that seemed to go on forever. I would get lost in those pages, imagining myself as the little girl with braids, running through fields of wildflowers. That story planted a seed in my heart that never really went away. It became a symbol of simple, pure joy. The idea of seeing those landscapes with my own eyes felt like connecting with a part of myself I had known for a long time. But life, as it does, got busy. I became a wife, and then a mother, and my days filled up with the important work of raising a family. The storybook was put away on a high shelf, and the dream of Switzerland was tucked away with it. There were moments when I felt a pang of guilt for even thinking about it. Was it selfish to want something so grand when I already had so much to be grateful for? I'd look at my children's faces and feel an overwhelming sense of love and responsibility, and the dream would feel distant and frivolous in comparison. I wrestled with this feeling for a long time. It felt like I had to choose between my role as a homemaker and this personal aspiration. But then I started to wonder, what if I didn't have to choose? What if showing my children how to chase a dream was one of the greatest lessons I could teach them? Maybe honoring that whisper in my own heart wasn't selfish at all. Maybe it was a way of showing them that it's okay to have dreams of your own, no matter what season of life you're in. The dream wasn't about leaving my world behind, but about expanding it. I knew that a trip across the world wouldn't happen overnight. It was a big, beautiful dream, and big dreams need a gentle start. So I decided to begin with something small, something I could hold in my hands. I bought a simple leather-bound notebook and a good pen. That little notebook became my sacred space. In the quiet moments of the day, While the kids were at school or after they had gone to bed, I would write. I wrote about my dream of Switzerland, describing the mountains and meadows as if I were already there. It was my way of making the dream feel real. Next, I decided to take a small step into the digital world. It felt a little scary at first, but I started a simple Instagram page. I called it a Homemaker's Atlas. I didn't have any fancy travel photos yet, so I started by sharing the beauty I found right here at home. I took pictures of the morning light in my kitchen, the flowers blooming in my garden, and the steam rising from a fresh-baked pie. I paired these simple photos with my writings from the notebook, sharing my honest thoughts about motherhood, home, and this quiet dream of one day seeing the Swiss Alps. To make my photos better, I began to learn about photography. I didn't buy an expensive camera, I just used the phone I already had. I watched free tutorials online, learning about light, composition, and how to capture a feeling in a single frame. It became a new creative outlet for me, a way to see the world around me with fresh eyes. I found beauty in the ordinary things I used to overlook. The texture of a wooden spoon, the way the sunlight hit a stack of folded laundry. This practice of noticing taught me so much about gratitude. At the same time, I started a Switzerland jar. It was just an old glass jar that I placed on our kitchen counter. Every week, I'd put a little bit of our grocery budget aside, whatever I could spare. Sometimes it was just a few dollars, other times a little more. The kids would even add their own coins sometimes. Seeing that jar fill up, coin by coin, dollar by dollar, was a powerful visual reminder. It was proof that small, consistent steps, no matter how tiny they seem, can add up to something truly significant over time. It was a slow and steady process, but it was ours. Slowly but surely, something amazing began to happen. My little corner of the internet started to grow. People, mostly other mums and homemakers, began to follow my page. They left comments that warmed my heart, telling me that my words resonated with them. They said my honesty about juggling motherhood with personal dreams made them feel seen. They weren't just following for pretty pictures, they were connecting with the story behind them. It was a beautiful, unexpected connection. I realized I wasn't alone in feeling this way. So many other women had their own Switzerland, a dream tucked away in their hearts. Some wanted to go back to school, some wanted to start a small business from their kitchen table, and others simply wanted to find time to paint again. My little Instagram page became a gathering place, a community where we could encourage one another. We celebrated each other's small victories, from saving the first $100 to finally signing up for a pottery class. It was a testament to the power of shared stories. This growing community gave me a new sense of purpose and a fresh wave of courage. Their encouragement made my dream feel less like a silly fantasy and more like a real, achievable goal. I started sharing more about the practical steps I was taking. My savings jar, the photography skills I was learning, the travel guides I was reading from the library. I wanted to show them that it wasn't about magic, it was about persistence. It was about taking one small, intentional step day after day, even when it felt like you weren't getting very far. The more I shared, the more my own confidence grew. The dream no longer felt like something I had to hide. It became a part of our family's story. The kids would ask me how much was in the Switzerland jar and get excited when I showed them pictures of the Matterhorn. My husband saw the light in my eyes and became my biggest cheerleader. The journey was no longer just mine, it was ours. It was a lesson for all of us in patience, dedication, and the beautiful things that can happen when you dare to plant a seed and faithfully water it. The day we finally booked the tickets was a moment I will never forget. We all gathered around the computer, the Switzerland jar sitting empty on the counter beside us. As I clicked the confirmation button, a wave of joyful tears streamed down my face. It was real. After years of dreaming, writing, saving, and sharing, we were actually going. The kids were cheering, and my husband wrapped his arms around me. It was a victory that belonged to all of us. The journey to get to this point was just as meaningful as the destination itself. Stepping off the train in a small Swiss village felt like walking straight into the pages of my grandmother's storybook. The air was so fresh and clean it felt like a tonic for the soul. The sound of distant cowbells echoed through the valley, just as I had imagined. We stood there for a moment, my family and I, just taking it all in. I looked at my children's faces, wide with wonder as they gazed up at the magnificent mountains that surrounded us. Seeing my dream reflected in their eyes was the most beautiful part of it all. Our days were filled with simple, perfect moments. We rode a gondola up to a mountain peak, our feet dangling high above the green meadows. We hiked along trails lined with wildflowers, their colors more vibrant than any picture could ever capture. We ate bread and cheese on a picnic blanket, looking out at a view that seemed to stretch on forever. One afternoon, while my husband and the kids skipped stones across a crystal-clear alpine lake, I sat on the shore and pulled out my old notebook. I wrote, "We made it." This journey taught me that dreams don't have an expiration date. It taught me that being a mother and a homemaker doesn't mean you have to put your own heart on a shelf. In fact, our dreams can enrich our families, teaching our children about courage, passion, and the importance of chasing the things that make our souls sing. To every woman out there with a Switzerland of her own, please know this: your dreams are valid. They matter. Start small, be patient with yourself, and never be afraid to share your story. You never know who you might inspire along the way.